Hi, and welcome to Advisor Journeys, a podcast that takes a first-hand insight into the advisor experience. I'm your host, Joe Pelligrini. I've been with Raymond James a little over 15 years and currently serve as the head of business development. In each episode, we're going to take a deep dive into all the Raymond James affiliation options, as well as the challenges and the benefits to advisor transitions, so that you know what to expect and how to prepare for a seamless transition. On today's episode, I'm joined by two of my favorite Raymond James and Associates colleagues, Patrick O'Connor, who's the Chief Operating Officer, and Chris Fills, who's the Complex Manager in Chicago. Welcome, guys. And
thanks
for coming.
Great to be here.
Absolutely.
Really excited.
So we'll jump right in. And if you want, maybe on this first question, we'll have you both chime in. So if you don't mind, Chris, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about your background and just how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. So as Joe mentioned, right now I serve as a complex manager in Chicago. It's a dream. I started out as a financial advisor, never thought about management. But during my time as a financial advisor, I had become a peer coach. And then I remember when I was a peer coach, a lot of the advisors, some of them were younger or newer in the industry. They were always asking for tips and talking about the manager or giving me ideas of how I could help them grow their business. And I remember one of them said, "Hey, Chris, why won't you become our manager?" And I was kind of nervous about that. But then I started to realize that I got the same fulfillment out of seeing those on my team get success and have wins. And it just really just drove something inside of me. And I said, let me try this out. And that was about 9 years ago. And so my journey's been financial advisor, sales manager, branch manager, and now complex manager. And so I move as an advisor. I'm an advisor inside, and I think that's been very helpful in my journey.
Absolutely. That's great. How about for you, Patrick?
Well, Joe, I'm thrilled to be the grizzled veteran here of 23 years with Raymond James and had the opportunity to join Raymond James right out of college, right into our headquarters in St. Pete, and just had an amazing journey here. I spent the first half of my career focused on building out some of our newer product and service capabilities around high net worth and private wealth capabilities, our alternatives group, our high net worth consulting group, our financial planning and 401k business. A lot of great experiences in my first decade with the firm. And I spent the last 10 years on the RJA leadership team, both as a regional director and then divisional director. And then recently with our leadership transition that's been going on in RJA, was really thrilled and humbled to take over as Chief Operating Officer, working closely with our DDs, our RDs, with Tom Walward, our president, to really look forward to the next decade and see how we continue to keep our great momentum and service our advisors the way we do.
Yeah. Well, congratulations again to both of you.
Yeah, thanks.
Patrick, why would an advisor want to join Raymond James and Associates, the employee channel of the firm?
How much time is this podcast scheduled for? I love the question, and it's something we feel very passionately about. We want to have a different conversation. People approach recruiting and considering another home in this business through a lens that's, that they see through the way that people have tried to engage them to recruit them. And it's a money conversation. It's a little bit more narrow in terms of the whys at other firms. Here, we're really focused on the advisor experience. How do we help advisors express themselves as entrepreneurs and how they want to manage their business? How do we enable them with our culture and the way we treat them and, go home fulfilled at night? Be a better person in life, be happy, be successful, feel accomplished. And it's a mission at Raymond James that we take very seriously. When I look at our leadership team today with Tasha Owen, our president of Private Client Group, of all of our affiliation options, Tom Walward, our president of RJA, these guys are both still financial advisors to this day. They're practicing advisors that have tremendous empathy for what an advisor goes through. They're stepping out of a meeting to take a call from a client who's worried about the market. They're using our technology tools. They're placing trades. They're doing things that from the top of the house creates incredible empathy that makes us better each and every day at serving the advisor's needs. And if that's not enough to the way we operate, led by financial advisors for financial advisors, we created this crazy thing called book ownership 20 plus years ago. It was an entrepreneurial stroke of genius at the time to say, we're going to be the first firm, and still to this day, the only firm that puts it in writing. The financial advisor owns their relationships with their clients. And if they're ever dissatisfied with RJA or any of our affiliation options, they can choose to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
They can take their clients and we won't try to keep them. We won't compete to keep the client. And that's such a unique value proposition in that it just reinforces and protects what we do for advisors every day, the way we treat them. We have to treat them as clients. A lot of firms can say that, but no firm puts it in writing. You can leave without competition. So that focus on the FA experience, and not just in the way we treat them, but I think importantly, the way we've evolved our platform, capabilities we've had. I've witnessed this for my 20 plus years at Raymond James. We can go toe to toe to serve the most sophisticated, complex, ultra high net worth client and create great scale to service the mass affluent at the same time with our technology and our resources. So, a lot here, a lot of conversation to have with folks, but we really want to have a different conversation to explore that why Raymond James could be an option for somebody looking to move.
Absolutely. Well said. Chris, is there anything that you'd want to add to that just in terms of how we set ourselves apart?
Yeah, I think locally in my role supporting advisors, I see myself more so as an agent and an advocate of advisors. And so Patrick mentioned book ownership and entrepreneurship. It's real at Raymond James. It's in writing. Advisors own their book of business. We have very low attrition. And so my job is to go at that every day to bring the resources, the tools, the technology, and whatever it is that my teams need to continue to grow or sustain their books of businesses. And the way that we do that is being empowered. And so Raymond James empowers not only the management, but we listen to advisors. And as Patrick mentioned, it's a firm built by advisors for advisors.
Absolutely. Yeah, if I can add, Chris embodies this really well in Chicago, but we grant an incredible amount of entrepreneurial capabilities to our complex and branch managers too. We're not managing them with scorecards. We're not pushing a corporate agenda on product utilization. That stuff comes organically, through our efforts to educate and inspire our advisors. But the local managers have a tremendous amount of freedom. And when I look at some of the pain points we hear from advisors in the firms is my manager can't get anything done. They got to go 3 levels above. I can't step out of the chain of command and call somebody if I have a problem. None of that exists at Raymond James. You can call anyone in the management team. Most importantly, our local managers like Chris are empowered to make consequential decisions every day. And they're better to make decisions than guys like me, right? Because they are there. They understand the advisors. They know what their clients look like. They know their books. They can make informed business decisions with our support that are really part of that culture and that experience we want to create.
Yeah.
Perfect. And perfect segue to the next question, which is, what do we offer our advisors that are, different than most other traditional W-2 options out there?
Yeah, so I'll take a stab at that. So when I looked at the firm about 7 years ago, I saw all the news about Raymond James growing, and I'm a Florida kid, and I was out on the West Coast, and I was thinking, well, how did I end up here and not at Raymond James sooner? What stood out for me being in my 30s was having advisor choice, having multiple affiliation options, and knowing that I wanted to go to a place where advisors could evolve and they could go across the spectrum, or the business could just change, and you just don't know what could happen. And then, we're a firm that's been around for 62 years. And so if you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s and you're thinking, 10, 20, 30 years out, or you're thinking about selling your business to your significant others or your children or family members or whomever it may be, what firm do you want to go to? A firm that's continuing to grow and create opportunities, challenge the platforms and investing in advisors, or someplace that's, kind of matured and they've already experienced a lot of growth and they're looking to more downsides. And so at Raymond James, it's exciting. We have a new CEO coming in, and I couldn't be more excited than I've ever been in the past 7 years.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point, right? Because as we're growing and reinvesting a lot of the capital back into the business to help our advisors differentiate themselves, that really does impact the culture. So it sort of feeds off itself, right? So I think you hit on something special there.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add?
I think you asked a question, what do we do that's different than maybe some of the competitors? And I want to, address something we commonly hear, maybe someone who's less aware of Raymond James and their geography or have a perception of us from 15, 20 years ago. One of the things that we really try to demonstrate early on as we engage with a prospective advisor considering Raymond James is really dispelling perhaps a myth or a long-held belief from 15 years ago that we're missing some kind of capability.
Yeah.
Our technology budget, our high net worth, our private wealth capabilities, our private wealth advisor program, our alternatives platform, our structured products, Raymond James Bank, their ability to deliver, bespoke lending solutions up and down the breadth of client needs into the ultra high net worth custom lending.
Yeah.
Our trust company, our ability to refer clients to our investment bank to handle the potential sale of a privately held business for a client. I mean, these are life-changing for clients as well as for advisors. I mean, I couldn't be more proud of watching the last 20 years of where our platform is. And so I want to dispel, I hope, at least an opportunity to invite advisors to test that statement I just made, that we are on par with the wirehouses in terms of so many of our capabilities, with some unique cultural lens we take on how we deliver those capabilities to advisors. That, what do we do different is, let's not assume that we're doing a whole lot different from the capabilities. We're big enough. We're a large, growing, exciting firm with a huge tech budget and all these things. But the key is we have the stuff, we just deliver it in this advisor-centric experience without that push, without those scorecards, without the, with a consistent and predictable comp plan. Like that, we hear that feedback all the time. So we're trying to take what has been a great culture and the way we treat advisors and this incredible retention Chris mentioned, make sure we are at the cutting edge of capabilities that serve clients at the same time.
Absolutely. And Patrick, I know moving into your new role, you'll have a heavier focus on recruiting, which I'm personally excited about. I imagine you get a lot of feedback from advisors as you're going through the process and after. Do you take any of that into your sort of plan as to how you approach things, and what do you do with that feedback?
Well, I think I want to say a lot of these capabilities we're talking about have been built over the last 2 decades because of that feedback. We're bringing advisors in and they're saying, what I loved about my old firm, we had this report, and we'll take that report or have the advisor talk to someone in our technology group, and all right, we can do that. And then like the next quarter's release, we'll have the report they asked for, or we had this particular alts offering, or we had this money manager, or whatever. And like we've grown this firm's capabilities by listening to those advisors come in and make us better and better to where we are today. My favorite thing to hear, and like Chris, have been involved with frontline personal relationships of bringing people to the firm. Like the whole goal of that exercise is to bump into that former recruit now Raymond James advisor at a conference, at an event, at a recognition trip, some of these fabulous trips we get to do with our advisors. And nothing makes me happier in my career than someone coming up and said, I can't thank you enough. You've impacted my life, not just my ability or to have a little bit better day, but like they're so excited and so fulfilled by being here that is what it's about, is having that 6-month, 1 year, 15-year relationship where someone comes back and says, I can't thank you enough for bringing me here. I mean, that's what it's all about. And that's why those experiences, that focus that we try to have on just making it a bespoke experience for each recruit who is considering Raymond James and meeting their specific business plan and where they want to take their career is why we have the retention that we do as well.
That's what makes it exciting for us to show up and keep doing it every day.
Absolutely.
I think to Patrick's point, we hear, hey, I probably should have moved sooner. That's what we hear a lot when we talk to advisors that are here. But to your point, when we look at the platform, the alts, we have a private institutional client desk for solutions for family offices or institutions over 50 million. It's very competitive. And being in Chicago, I can tell you that some of the enhancements that we've made over the last 10 to 15 years have gone a really long way. And so for a lot of advisors who haven't looked in 15, 20 years, they'd just be surprised at what we can offer. And what we hear when we bring advisors down to Tampa is, wow, I knew you all were great people, but I didn't know that you all can deliver on the technology, the solutions, and the services.
Absolutely. And you hit on this a little bit earlier, having been a former financial advisor, now a complex manager, all in major markets. So, just kind of curious, what drew you to Raymond James? You mentioned the multi-channel, which I thought was great, but what kept you here?
Well, Patrick, helped draw me there. Patrick,
smiling, man.
Patrick was involved in that process.
Fateful day we met. I mean, like, I'm so thrilled. Like, looking back, I can't believe it's been that long, man.
So 7 years. Patrick, a couple of things, right? So going back, having the multi-affiliations was huge. Just for me, just wanting to be in a place where advisors were happy or they had options, and the entrepreneurial mindset. And then just that it was a 50-something plus year firm at the time and being a part of something that was growing. And so I viewed it as, wow, this is great. This just reminds me of, a tech company, the Apple before it became Apple, or Netflix, or whatever company you want to put in that category. And I want to be a part of the journey, a part of the vision of the firm. And me being a young leader at the time, I felt valued in that our voices were heard at my stage, and it's the same for advisors.
Wow, that's great. As a complex manager, what role do you typically take in, onboarding new financial advisors, and what part of that role do you play?
Yeah, so it's first lead. So I'm usually involved throughout the process. That's going to be the initial meeting, second meeting, or bringing the recruit down to Tampa for a home office visit. And then once they're on board and committed, then we have an in-house transition team in Chicago, and then we work with the team here at St. Pete. They help with the account mapping, the technology, training of the staff. And my goal there is to go back into that agent mode to make sure that we've got all the resources to make sure that we can set the right expectations and deliver on their transition.
Yeah, and you brought up home office visit, just to kind of add on, Patrick, tell the audience a little bit more about what that is.
Yeah, no, it's an opportunity that we love every day. I mean, we have an advisor from another firm visiting us almost every day. We're open here in the headquarters in St. Pete, and it's about a customized experience, really, because we really want to know what is important to the individual advisor or team, get to know them on a personal level, spend time with senior leadership, spend time getting to see all the expertise and the people that will be supporting the transition. And we do this in a very labor-intensive, one at a time, customized experience for each advisor. That agenda, shifts based on what the advisor wants to see. And, we can do this in less than 24 hours if someone wants to dedicate that amount of time. But oftentimes we enjoy breaking bread or, going to a sporting event at Raymond James Stadium, or spending time in the Tampa Bay area, especially, in some of the colder months. We love inviting people down and just getting to know them. We're going to be partners for a long time. This isn't a transaction, and that's where I think, our focus on individually customizing and getting to know this experience is sometimes missed in the transactional world that is painted sometimes of advisors looking around for other solutions for their practice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've talked offline about some firms where you can scan and email your production report and get an offer back in the mail. I mean, so far from our approach.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, I got to throw this word out there because it's something that our great partner over the years, Danny Sarch, has ingrained on all of us. And that's this concept. We look at the recruiting experience with this term that Chris embodies, and I know a lot of our managers embody, which is we can truly be a career fiduciary.
Oh, I like that.
At Raymond James, because we have these affiliation options. So just because you meet Chris as your first contact with the firm, or meet someone on your team, Joe, it's, what are you trying to achieve?
Yeah.
Maybe an independent, business owner path with our great resources in ICD are an option. Maybe you want to come in the employee world, establish your practice here at Raymond James, escape wherever you're coming from, and get to know the platform. And in 10 years, you want to, launch your own registered investment advisor. And we have a custody option that makes it pretty seamless to look at that. So having all the choices, having a focus on the advisor experience and what they're trying to achieve in their career, we can align that because we've got the tools and we have the mindset to be that career fiduciary. And it's like, I don't think a lot of firms, when I hear stories of firms leaving their deal on someone's voicemail before they've even met them, or saying, send me your numbers, I'll send you a deal. Like that to us misses the point. Like, why are people moving? And it can be about the money. The money is an important part, but to us, it's about so much more of knowing we have to be competitive economically, or it doesn't work for anybody. But knowing that it's about that journey, it's about that business plan, and we can have a different conversation with any manager at Raymond James than you can have at most of the other firms we're competing with, because we have all these choices and we have this mindset, this culture to focus on the FA. Yeah.
Career fiduciary, I love that. But it's true, right? Having all the options and having all of us sit in the seat that we do, we can truly just help the advisor, which I think is a differentiator in itself.
And sometimes it's not a great fit. We'll tell people, like, listen, you're better off for whatever reason, maybe staying put for 5 more years. And, we're not here to just put numbers on the board and put transactions. Like, we take the long-term view, and we can be honest with, and like sometimes the best situations are saying, like, hey, it's not the right time for your practice. But hopefully we can talk in 3 years when these things come together. And some of the best recruits we've been a part of have taken this longer journey to get here. And we're okay with that. We're thinking long-term. We're not just trying to put points on the board.
Well, the example you used is perfect, right? You recruit somebody today, 5 years from now, you're better friends, right?
Not always the case. Exactly. We hope so. That's the aspiration every single day.
Yeah. Jumping back in, Chris, to your role as complex manager, can you just describe any ongoing training and development opportunities that are available to advisors that you work with?
Yeah, so the private wealth program has been phenomenal. So that's for advisors that work with clients at a certain net worth and bringing them down to St. Pete and also learning other tools to enhance the experience for those clients. That's been phenomenal. We also do some next gen training in Chicago. We leverage social media training, such as things like this. We do podcasts. We make sure we do LinkedIn. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of the platforms where we want to just make sure that our advisors are in the places where their clients are. And then a lot with COI training. That's been a big one. So CPAs, working with them, working with the state attorneys. Patrick mentioned our investment bank. We have our investment banking conference starting tomorrow here in Tampa. So really leveraging the connections between business owners and those business owners that are having liquidity events. A lot of baby boomers that are getting older and they're thinking about the next generation. So having a proper valuation and then having our teams equipped to be ready for those liquidity events. And so when you look at all of that and the tools that the firm has, we're making enhancements in our planning software. Yeah. I'm just really excited about the future and being in a major city like Chicago, where we just opened up a brand new office. It's amazing and we've got a lot of energy.
Yeah, that's great. Well, what would you both say to an advisor that's thinking about transitioning to a new firm but has some concerns or hesitation?
I think, you should have concerns, Joe. Like, this as well as anybody, all the success you've had in bringing people to the firm. It's, this is not an easy process. Like, we don't want to sugarcoat it. It's not going to be easy anywhere you go. But I think we pride ourselves on really from that first meeting to showing up to the transition process. We've got to really be diligent, and we've got the resources. Chris mentioned our transition teams, our local teams take a lot of ownership of doing that. The concerns that we get a lot could come around like the legalities and like, these, succession planning documents, or what did I sign with the firm I'm at? And sometimes that just like, I can't even get my head around it. I don't even want to have a conversation. We pride ourselves by really assessing and having all the experience we've had with many different firms. We treat this very, very seriously in terms of that process and uncovering what those concerns are. Mm-hmm. And we might not overcome all of them, but we'll have an objective conversation about them. And given our success, we can say, hey, you're coming from XYZ firm, confidentially and anonymously, we can put you in touch with, here's a list of 7 advisors who joined us in the last 12 months from your firm. Talk to them. You can take our word for it, but hear the experience that they've had. And it's worth, there should be concerns, there should be hesitations. This is a, serious career decision that impacts your clients. So you got to go with a firm, and you got to have an engagement and a relationship where we can really vet all that and have a really deliberate process to go through that. This is not, once again, it's not a transaction. This isn't a, 30-day, I meet you, I'm going to show you a deal. Let's say yes, we'll figure it out later. That's not how this is too important to the advisors, their families, to really take this seriously and address those concerns head on.
Yeah, I would say valid concerns. It's a thorough process, but it's a place where you come to Raymond James, you never have to leave again with another firm. And so take your time and go through the process, fly down to Tampa or virtually, that's an option too, but prefer to come down and get the full experience. But once you're here, if you're not happy or you have a situation in your office where you like to explore channels, you can do that here and never have to leave to go to a different firm. Where we see a lot of individuals may have went to a firm 5 years ago, or 6 or 7, 8 years ago, and now they're not happy, and they potentially have to leave that firm, and go somewhere else. Where you come here, sooner the better. You don't have to make that move again.
Absolutely. You mentioned the word evolve earlier. I think that's perfect, right? We can evolve with the advisor, which is pretty powerful. Well, guys, I appreciate you coming on. That's all I had for you. But I certainly want to give you the opportunity if there's anything I didn't ask you that you want to add.
No, I would say kudos to our marketing department for doing things like this with the podcast. This is something that our advisors can do. There's custom branding available. And that was one of the things that, really stood out for me being a next gen advisor and manager, was the ability to really have your own identity within a larger firm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I would add, it just starts with a conversation. Find someone you're comfortable with at Raymond James, whether our great recruiting consultants who cover geographies with an eye towards every channel, your local manager, or one of us. We're very accessible in management. If you see this podcast, you like something I said, shoot me an email, reach out to me. I mean, we'll love to have a conversation to get the ball rolling. And there's not a hierarchy and a process and an ownership. We all work together to try to make sure that, really encourage advisors considering a move, make the most informed decision you can. And if we're not on your list, but you want to get a perspective of everything we talked about just to compare and contrast what you're thinking of, these are serious decisions. It's worth some time, and we'd love to be in the conversation.
Well, thank you guys for joining us today. I enjoyed the conversation, and thank you all for joining us today on Advisor Journeys. We'll see you on the next episode.